Hey guys, Pete here. The other day I saw this survey from Reddit that sort of blew my mind, so I wanted to make a quick video to look at the results. The survey was posted by the user Feisty Potato. It had 5,400 responses, and instead of just posting the results for each question, Feisty made a nice infographic and pointed out some interesting connections. I'll post a link to the original Reddit post in the description so you can go and look at some of the feedback that the results got. As a reminder, my book giveaway is still going on, so make sure you stick around to the end of the video to learn more about that. Now let's jump right into it. The survey is titled Predictions and Speculation for the Winds of Winter and the Future of A Song of Ice and Fire. The questions are no longer live since the voting is closed, but you get a general idea what they were from the answers. The first bit of data we get is, when do you believe the Winds of Winter will be published? The majority of those surveyed, nearly 65%, agree it will come out in 2017, with 2018 coming in second with 25%. This is a fair assumption considering that most fans expected that we would get the book before season 6 based on George's own predictions, and since 2016 is almost over, it doesn't look good that we'll get it this year. I don't really get the motivation behind the ones who voted 2018. I think collectively we're all disappointed that the book hasn't been released yet, but also we give George the benefit of the doubt, since when thinking clearly we know it'll be worth the wait. 2018 just seems like an arbitrary answer in that sense, maybe to be on the safe side or something, but I think most people who answered out of frustration picked that it would never come out, which got a crazy high 4.3%. Personally, I think the chances of Winds never coming out are zero, since the majority of the book must be written by now. A Dream of Spring is a different story, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the survey. An interesting point here is that people also gave an answer as to what quarter of the year it would be coming out. The majority prediction overall is the second quarter, which is April, May, and June of 2017. If you've been waiting and wondering when the book might come out, think spring of 2017. This seems realistic to me just based on the amount of time between the last two releases, which is a strong indication of how long it takes him to get a book done. The next bit of data is how many years after the publication of The Winds of Winter will it take for A Dream of Spring to be published. The stat that jumps out to me here is that 21.2% answered never. 20% would be 1 out of every 5 people polled, which seems super high to me. I guess I've always had it in the back of my mind that it's possible the final book wouldn't get finished, but I don't think I'd ever vote that way. Keep in mind that even though this is the highest individual answer, it means that nearly 80% of people answered that it would actually come out. The positive answers are just spread out over different lengths of time. In general, most of the answers are from 4 to 7 years, with an overall average of 5.54. This seems like a good educated guess to me, and I expect this is the way things will turn out. So if you think Winds will be out early next year, that means A Dream of Spring will be dropping in the winter of 2022. It sounds so long from now when you say it like that, but let's remember that building worlds and writing great stories isn't something that happens overnight. To go along with this, we get the most common responses as to why some people believe A Dream of Spring won't be published. They include George R.R. Martin is old, he's losing interest, lacking motivation, George R.R. Martin will die, he's slowing down, and that he has a slow writing pace. First of all, George just had a birthday and turned 68. That's not that old. The average life expectancy for men in the US is around 75, with a number of factors that could make that higher. The answer that he's losing interest is the dumbest answer in my opinion, because a lot of things can happen to slow down a creative process, but losing interest in a story you've been thinking about for more than 20 years just isn't one of them in my opinion. Wanting to take a break, have a hiatus, work on something else, so on and so forth, those are all reasonable things that could pop up. But it's not like he doesn't work on other projects concurrently. I think stress is a very real part of this process, but I can't see him losing interest in doing what pretty much every writer sets out to do in their lifetime. This series is his magnum opus. His slowing down has some validity to it, since I can imagine that ending a story like this is pretty daunting overall. Once you're going, once you hit the end, it's probably hard to wrap things up. But I'm in the camp of thinking that taking a little more time will pay dividends to the readers, so this doesn't really bother me. Slow writing pace, well, that is what it is. Every writer is different, so most of us have been waiting for a long time for the release of Winds, so we'll just have to wait until it's done. George R.R. Martin will die is a frightening answer that I don't really want to think about, honestly. Like I said, he isn't that old, and as far as I can tell, all of his faculties are intact. I could see if he was like 95 or even 88, but this just isn't something that that seems likely. It would be unfortunate if something would happen to his health, but it's not the sort of thing we need to worry about. The last two sections of the graphic are about whether A Dream of Spring will be the last book in the series. 70% of people answered yes, and I tend to agree. Obviously, the series could be enjoyable for fans no matter how many books there end up being, but I tend to think that the author would like to finish. We know he has other Song of Ice and Fire related works he wants to complete, and he has mentioned wanting to write other genres as well. I don't think money, prestige, fame, or anything else really factors into it anymore at this point. He had a story in mind, and the most reasonable thing for him to do is to complete it. Of the 30% of people who don't think it will be the last book, the most common responses are too much to write and wrap up, there's still money to be made, it will be split into 2 books, George R.R. Martin is bad at predictions, this was originally supposed to be a trilogy after all. None of these answers are outside the realm of possibility, but I still think he is at the point of wanting to finish. Part of me thinks that coming up with new ideas isn't the problem, but instead staying out of the weeds and just heading straight to the finish line is. We have some evidence of this with the last 2 books and the subsequent Winds of Winter preview chapters we've seen, but overall I don't think he will run into the same problem again and again. I guess it is possible that he might have to chop Dreams into 2 books, but I wouldn't expect that to happen unless he's already written a bunch of chapters for it at this point. For those who thought it wouldn't be the last book, 57.7% said that they thought it would get finished, and 42.3% said no. The most common answers here seem to be basically the same as the people who thought the Winds would never come out in the first place. Since I don't think he will add another book to the series, I can't really offer much on this. The last section of the infographic gives a nice overview on when the people surveyed started reading the series. If you're wondering why there's such a big spike in 2011, well, it's because that's when Game of Thrones first aired on HBO. The last thing at the bottom tells us there was no observable correlation between the length of time participants had been a fan and the predictions they made for the release of Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring. This means, based on the data, that older A Song of Ice and Fire fans are no more pessimistic nor optimistic than newer fans. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments if you've been waiting for the book and what you think will happen. Do you think Winds of Winter will be out before Game of Thrones Season 7? How about A Dream of Spring? Do you think it's going to be the same amount of time we're going to wait, or do you think that it might come out a little bit faster? Or if you're a complete doomer, do you think it'll never come out? Please like the video if you think it's likable. I appreciate all the feedback I've been getting and want to welcome all the new subscribers. I had a couple of people ask me about a Patreon account through my Twitter, so I'm thinking about starting one. Let me know what you guys think, or if you think it's a good idea. The thing with Patreon is it's great, but it's hard to get it started. You know, a Patreon that has supporters obviously does better than one that doesn't. So I've kind of like been hesitant to start one without much interest, and now that I have some interest, I'm thinking more about doing it. Also, we're getting close to the giveaway goal. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe now for your chance to win. I'm giving one of you guys a free copy of The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms when I hit 18,000 subscribers. All you have to do is leave a comment, but likes are also appreciated. What I'll do is I'll use one of the YouTube comment pickers that are out there. I'll search through the videos I've made since the giveaway started and pick one comment from each of those videos. From there, I'll take all those names and pick the final winner at random. So technically, you can enter more than once by going back and watching older videos and leaving comments. Just don't be the guy who spams out in the comments without ever watching the videos. Nobody likes that guy, trust me. Just watch the video and leave comments, and for that, I'll wish you good luck in the giveaway. Thanks for watching, I'll talk to you soon.